throughout time and history, that they're bold enough to say what needs to be said to help spark that fire. And what we do with that fire is up to us.
Right.
Yes, and Alex Jones is a hero, and the same way Edward Snowden could be, or Ron Paul could be, because he's offering a different alternative to what you see on the mainstream media, or what you've grown up into, what you've always been told, and that's one way to wake people up, and it works, even though it is negative. I mean, negativity sells, and it does sell. I mean, you see it in the news every day.
Yeah.
But it also has helped him expand. I just recently saw his Twitter account photo of his studio now, and his studio looks like a legit news corporation now.
Right.
So that's taken into context as well. And because I saw him, actually, he's been posting a lot recently on Mediaite. Mediaite is a stream, they share a lot of links to news and politics and videos, and Mediaite was talking about Alex Jones, and I forgot who else he had on, someone from Fox News, but it was kind of weird because now you see Alex Jones becoming sort of prominent in the alternative media. And it's important to also look at alternative media as well. And I think it's also very, very important to watch, whenever you get the chance. I don't really watch the news on TV. If anything, I'll watch political links to YouTube videos of like MSNBC, CNN, or Fox, and I'll look at like a 5-minute, 10-minute clip of a segment that's controversial or whatever. But it's important to also look at those for people who are skeptical, because that's a way to disseminate information, to disseminate what the truth is.
Absolutely.
And what is be a skeptic. So that's very good on all. It's like I said, everything's connected and everything is good to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. And that's a really important point that you bring up, because I'll talk to people sometimes who are like-minded individuals, such as myself, and activists and things like that. That don't watch, they'll refuse to watch Fox, and they'll refuse to watch CNN, and they'll refuse to watch MSNBC because they don't want to be fed the propaganda. And I think that that's a bad move, and I think that that's pretty much what you're expressing yourself. That it's important to kind of to kind of take that information in as well. And the difference is, though, is to take it with a grain of salt. Take it for what it is.
And tiny fragments.
Right, and take it for what it is, and know that it's probably not true. It's probably just entertainment.
I get my info from South Park.
But it's always important.
Hell yeah! You get more information from South Park than you get from CNN or Fox. I mean, you get more political insight from that. It's
more
insane.
honest.
It's absolutely insane.
But it's important also to not only know that it's fake when you're taking it in, but it's important just to take it in, because that's ammo for your arsenal.
Yeah.
You can't battle the enemy, whoever that enemy is, without intel. That's a big part of war.
Exactly.
When you're going to war with the enemy, you have to have intel. So you have to know what the hell the enemy's talking about. You have to know what the enemy's beliefs are.
Why they believe it.
Right, why they believe it. You have to, so that you know how to attack it, you know how to break it down, you know how to disseminate it, you know how to dissect it and show it for what it is, basically to show their own asses to them. You know what I mean? This is your ass. This is what your anus looks like. Smell it. Pretty nasty, isn't it? Let's work on that. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Not to over elaborate, because now we're all preaching to each other.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we're the choir and the preacher, just telling each other the same thing.
It definitely works, and that's the best thing. Like I was saying about, but isn't it sad that a lot of people do watch South Park or The Daily Show, Comedy Central, to get their political information,
Yep.
And a lot of the times, The Daily Show or South Park might be right most of the time, and it's kind of sad.
It is, but those multiple angles I've told Robert in the past that I used to listen to a lot of AM radio versus listening to, music, because I know the dangers of listening to Taylor Swift. So I go over to AM radio instead. And
come on, what's wrong with Shake It Off, man? There's nothing wrong with that song.
Please, those words, I'm like, all right, I'm at risk here.
That's my jam.
So anyway, I have a daughter, I know, I hear it. So I would listen to, I don't know if you know who Randy Rhoads is.
No.
Okay.
Wait a second. You're from Texas and you don't know who Randy Rhoads... Wait, Randy... I'm sorry. No, you know what, Vince? Forget what I was just saying.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking Randy Rhoads...
The wrestler.
For some reason.
No. This is a talk show host, and she's so biased and so far left, and she called for the assassination of Bush during his presidency. Yeah, and, I loved to listen to the angle of why they rationalize the way they do. And at the same note, I'll listen to Rush Limbaugh. And I mean, for my show listeners, I actually can't stand Rush. I just don't like him. Nothing personal. I just don't like hearing the same thing regurgitated over the last 20 years. So, but he serves his purpose, because if he puts any kind of valuable information out there, I can take that piece of gold that's worth something and dust off the rest. And that's why I listen to multiple sources, so that I can make a decision based on those different angles. And hopefully those 3 to 5 angles lead to a center point of truth.
Yeah, and it always does, and that's why, like you said, that's why it's important to listen to the two sides, and that's why you're right in the middle, most of the time on a lot of news. With Rush Limbaugh, I've seen him. It's really hard to watch something over and over again that's regurgitated, and that's how it's easy for a lot of people to turn off, But I also think the reason why. What do y'all think is so partisan now? I think it's become really partisan the past. The past 10 years, it's become really partisan. Do y'all see it the same, or do you have a different opinion on that?
Yeah.
It's really divided.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the country's probably the most divided that it's been in a while. But I also think that that's kind of healthy and necessary to a certain degree at this point. Because personally, I think that that's something that kind of another thing that shows people who were typically on the outside and not really bothering to get involved one way or the other, kind of showing them why they should. And I think that a lot of people who are kind of leaning libertarian right now, or who are at least just becoming more politically aware and deciding to get involved one way or the other, whether it's libertarian or whatever else, I think that's something that's kind of influenced that thought process to, oh man, I got to do something here, because these people are obviously there's something wrong with it. We're dealing with sociopaths here, psychotic sociopaths, and somebody different has to do something.
Look, just because someone's willing to sacrifice your children in a war that has nothing to do with us, that does not make them socio or psychopaths.
I stand corrected. I do apologize.
It doesn't mean you should let them either,
Oh, it's a joke, Vince.
Okay, he's being sarcastic. This is the devil's advocate next to me.
Complete sarcasm.
But like with my friends, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends who are very into politics, and they woke up alongside me at the same time I did. They're always ranting and raving about how bad our government is, sharing stuff with me that I love, and they didn't go out to vote at the midterms.
Right.
And I don't know if what y'all's belief is on voting. And at one point, for a long time, I was like, our vote doesn't count. It's already rigged. And it is rigged in a lot of places, and that's true in a lot of levels. But also, if there's no one going to vote, if there's no one commanding these elections and at the polls and being a watchdog, then of course it's going to be easier for the playmakers to rig it.
Yep.
So, might as well be active, go out there and vote. And if you don't believe in the two-party system, don't vote for the two-party system. Write someone's name in, or just write "fuck you" at the bottom, at the write-in section, or vote for someone that says that's a third-party candidate.
Right.
And that's the way to show people in power that, hey, fuck you, we're going to start doing things our own way. This is the beginning stages. But if you want to keep on going down this road of tyranny and oppression and all these laws that are fucking everyone over, you're not going to get the votes that you need to do it. And they're going to see that there is dissent, and it's going to scare them. It's going to make them, if they want to stay in power, to start transitioning to something else, you know. And that's one way to start changing that, because, like, you know, my friends tell me, oh, I'm not voting, or they'll talk all year about how, you know, they want to change stuff and how they want things to change. It's not going to change unless you go out there to vote. And because, like, for instance, in Florida was 3% short, 3% short,
2% short
of making medical marijuana legal. And if the young voters would have got out over there, and it's really what it comes down to is the votes.
Yep.
They would have came out and voted. That would have changed medical marijuana for the southern state, for the first southern state, and that would have set as a huge precedent.
Amen.
But no, they chose not to go out, and the old people of Florida voted that as being immorally wrong, you know, and kind of set us back a little bit. But it seems like that, and also then you go see in California, California voters started this new thing where it's kind of historic, where there's this new law that's going to release a lot of thousands of prisoners that are nonviolent drug offenders, and it's really the beginning of because you're starting to see stuff like that, like liberty and justice prevailing in California of all places, because the voters got out and they're like, hey, this is wrong. We shouldn't be locking up people for weed. We shouldn't be locking up people for shit where they didn't murder anybody, they didn't rape anybody. And because they went out and voted during the midterms, they made their vote count, and just because of that, they're setting people free. And that's a huge deal, you know. So when people say, hey, our votes don't count, well, right now they do count, and in a lot of states they do count. They may not count in your state, but they count in other states where it does matter. So
right.
It really is a huge deal to me. That kind of pissed me off, actually, when my friends tell me, no, I didn't go out to vote.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely, man, and I'm right there with you. I couldn't agree with you more, and I deal with the same thing myself a lot. A lot of people that I encounter, coworkers and so on, same mindset. And, you know, one of the things that I can say is that, you know, thankfully it's not as much as it used to be as far as people who didn't care. And I know myself, I was one of those people once upon a time, as you yourself were. It was something kind of a common denominator that I've noticed between all the individual libertarian-minded people, is that's kind of how we started out. We started out as one party leaning or another, whether it's Democrat or Republican, then went to a stage of not caring either way and just not voting and getting involved at all because of the disenfranchisement and disillusionment, and then coming to a point where you realize, oh, wait a second, no, my voice does count. It's just that I'm sending it the wrong direction because there's this other thing that exists that I wasn't aware of before, i.e., you know, the Libertarian Party or independent, third party, whatever the case may be, anything other than the false left-right paradigm. And when you realize that, then you realize, oh, wait, it is a good idea that I get involved. This is something that I should be doing. And then you kind of throw your hat back into the ring. So it sounds like that's kind of the same thing that you're doing as well. And that's something that just kind of needs to continue. We need to continue to encourage people and kind of wake them up and realize, because that is what's going to cause the difference. Like you said, 2% is what we were shy for Amendment 2, legalization of medical marijuana here in South Florida. And so it's just such a small amount, obviously.
Is that not crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, if the young voters would have got out,
it's shameful.
And if the people would have got out and just they saw it there in front of their eyes. They're like, oh, my vote doesn't count, or they were just too lazy and they didn't want to go for whatever reason. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to do that, you know, and that would have changed a lot of people's lives, you know. And you know, there was a missed opportunity, you know, but I think hopefully people will start recognizing that, hey, this is one way we can change stuff, you know, and then, yeah, always take to the streets, always protest, always hold those in power accountable, you know, because that's important. It's very, very important, but that's one thing that everyone should recognize. While we have this power, take advantage of it, because it does change shit, you know?
That's right. I couldn't have said it better myself. You know what? And so I'm going to leave it at that point, and let's leave it on a high note. So I want to thank you so much. We're actually out of time here. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Vince is really awesome. And really quick, just let my listeners know where they can find your show and where else they can find you on social media and so on.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate appreciate it. Thank you, guys. You can, for people who are listening, you can follow me at Vinny Urrabazo. It's VINNY URRABAZO.